everybody, welcome to At the Movies with the Only Critic, where each and every week we talk about the latest movies hitting theaters. It's the first show of 2017, but this week we're taking a step back to 2016 to talk about the #1 blockbuster. We're talking about Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
Every week on my talk show, we like to bring a guest on, and this week we were very fortunate enough to get the chair of the Visual and Performing Arts Department, Mark Dipietro. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Nate, because we get to talk about Star Wars.
That's right, we're talking about Star Wars, and it's to my understanding that you were one of the few that got to see it originally in its...
Oh, trust me, there would not be $17 billion in merchandise if there were only a few people that saw the first Star Wars. But I remember seeing the trailer back in 1977 on television, and we were sitting around and my mom said, "Your brother wants to see that movie," to me, and I had never heard it before. We didn't have internet, we didn't have things like that, and all I knew was there was this young guy holding this hot woman with bun hair, and they were flying on a rope, and I said, I'm going to see that movie, and it was great.
So let's talk about Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and kind of how that pertains to the Star Wars universe. I guess the bottom line is, what did you think of the movie? I liked it because I liked the way that it kind of serves as answers to questions that people might have had between Episode 3 and Episode 4, which is where this takes place in the timeline. So I kind of like that aspect, and it's always so nice to see Darth Vader on the big screen again.
Right. I agree. I liked it. It was fun. It was Star Wars, which is the main thing. The one thing I didn't care about Star Wars, about Darth Vader, I kind of jokingly said to you, but it's true. He's slimmed down so much, but I like David Prowse, a big tough guy who, if he can't get you with the Force, he's going to get you with his hands, So I do like a little beefier Darth Vader, but he's coming in Episode 4 then, I guess, so it's okay.
And, and I think it's fair to say that the characters, Felicity Jones, he's such a great role model, I think, that everybody, children, little boys and little girls that they can look up to, and I like how the diversity in the Star Wars cast continue to grow. You have Diego Luna and, all these different ethnicities, Donnie Yen, who's the monk warrior, he was my favorite part of the movie.
I love him.
He was my favorite part. And, I think it's safe to say, though, that this Star Wars adventure was a little more darker than what we've become used to. It's not as necessarily as fun as, the original adventures, like when you were younger.
I think they all did a great job. And can I just say one thing about the blind monk? He goes through and he says, and it seems like it doesn't mean anything, he says, I am one with the Force is one with me. But it means everything to fill in that hole in a 3.5, in something between Episode 3 and Episode 4. To fill in that hole of when Episode 4, they say that's a dying religion. And the monk is the only one who we see is working to try to feel the Force. And in Episode 4, that's all we know about, is that you're supposed to feel the Force. We don't know yet that Luke was born with this. When we first see him learning the ways of the Force. So I love that it tied that in, and it brought it back to the religion aspect a little bit, because let's face it, the Force be with you. His name is Luke. It's very biblical in nature, the whole idea of there's something that binds us all.
So we like to ask that we grade the film out of a scale of 5 halos, but I think this week, I think it's appropriate, since the movie is about setting the plans to the Death Stars, I think we should do Death Stars out of 5. So why don't you start, Mark? What would you...
Well, I really liked it. I think it's a great film to just go, a popcorn film, to go and enjoy. There were some slow moments, I'll confess. It was not a... It dragged at times. It dragged at times.
The characters aren't necessarily as memorable as Luke and Han and Leia, right?
So originally I think, it was a solid 3 Death Stars, but I gotta give it an extra Death Star because it's Star Wars. I want them to make more Star Wars movies because I want to go see them. And so I'm gonna just say 4 Death Stars because it's Star Wars. Okay, you gotta go.
And I'm going to give it 3.5 Death Stars out of 5. I'm going to go a half a star below you. It's fine. It's all good. And there's more Star Wars movies coming.
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
Well, Mark, I can't thank you enough for coming on and
Thanks for
talking
having me.
about
It was a
It's
pleasure.
great. This has been At the Movies with the Only Critic. You can get all my reviews and more at ShewSpectra.com. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Thanks for having me.